call the November 2nd, 2022 meeting of the Decatur County Board of Zoning Appeals to order. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Decatur County requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the October 5th meeting. Everyone should have received those in their packet. Does anybody have any additions or corrections?
No.
Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve those.
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes from last meeting.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those are approved. Our single item on the agenda tonight, BZA petition 2022-13, Morris and Wendy Bowman are requesting a special exception in an A1 zoning classification to build a wedding venue event center. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance number 925. Property is currently owned by the petitioners and is located north of 541 South County Road 850 East, Greensburg and Salt Creek Township. Wendy, if you would come up. Please present to the board.
All right, my daughter Taylor is gonna start out.
We are interested in building an event space on our farm. What is going to separate us from other venues in the county and surrounding counties is that ours will be tucked away in our own 13-acre woods located on the backside of our property behind the ground we farm and will continue to farm. Our venue will be a high-end venue with rustic and industrial elegance decor. Picture antique brick, industrial lighting, and beautiful chandeliers. Basically, the venue will be turnkey for couples. So for the bride on a budget, there will be little for them to do except add their own personal touches. It will be private and picturesque while offering many amenities such as heating and AC, ample parking, handicap accessibility, outdoor cocktail areas, and bridal groom suites, just to name a few. I hope you are all able to use the QR code to watch the video of the location you've chosen for our venue. We wanted to give you the opportunity to see how secluded it is and how it will make for the perfect space for a wedding venue. Our venue will help bring outside revenue to Decatur County. Located about a mile off the New Point exit, we are perfectly located halfway between Indianapolis and Cincinnati. We believe our venue will be a top choice in Decatur County. We also hope to promote local vendors and put them on our preferred list, so clients from out of town will know that they are hiring vendors that will give them the same quality of care as we will. We are fortunate to be located less than a mile away from North Branch Golf Course. Our venue will pair perfectly with North Branch. Groomsmen can go out and play around a golf while the bridal party decorates. Not to mention the beautiful bed and breakfast and Airbnb are located just up the road, as well as local hotels for accommodating guests from out of town.
Decatur County needs a high-end event space. For several years, North Decatur, where I work, has had to have their prom out of the county, as well as the Decatur County Memorial Hospital with their gala. In fact, my friend's son got married in Lafayette this summer. The bride was from Indy and the groom from here, but due to the lack of a high-end venue in Decatur County and the high cost of venues in Indy, they chose Lafayette for the look and price. So that was roughly 200 guests traveling to their wedding that paid for lodging for 1 to 2 nights. My good friends Destiny and Landon, they wanted to get married in our venue, but they're going to get married in Bloomington this April at a venue very similar to our design. So people are willing to travel to get the look that they want. And these venues are usually twice as much than what we would be pricing ours at. So since we began this journey, I have read books, articles, watched podcasts, and talked to other venue owners all about what it takes to be successful in this business. I even taught myself how to build a designer website. Why not? So I have researched enough about venues to know that drunks and kids are your 2 biggest liabilities on a wedding. So we plan on always having 1 to 2 venue managers on site at every wedding. We are not just going to hand keys over and hope for the best. That would not be responsible as venue owners. It is our business. We plan on being very present at every event. On top of that, there will also be a security guard at every wedding. I have talked to several law enforcement officers who will work the security. This will include them being in constant communication with the bartenders as well as the managers. And when people are starting to leave, they will be in the parking lot to ensure that drivers are not impaired. There will also be cameras inside and out that will be monitored. Our butts are on the line, so if anyone gets hurt, we don't take this lightly. Our contracts will also have a strict no outside alcohol policy, as well as no shots served at the bar. According to page 26 and 43 of the Plan Decatur County 2016 Comprehensive Plan, agricultural areas may also include agritourism businesses, wineries, farm stands, and limited commercial uses that support the agriculture industry. The plan also states that Decatur County needs to support the expansion of farm-related businesses, non-traditional agriculture businesses, and direct market rural businesses. Agritourism is defined as tourism that involves any agriculturally based operation or activity that brings visitors to a farm or ranch for recreational, entertainment, or educational purposes. Rural weddings and events are included in agritourism. So in your packet, I had included a local permitting and zoning guide. It would be this right here. That is from the Indiana State Department of Agriculture. And I included the counties that had information about rural wedding venues and how they included under agritourism. Also in your packet, I have included Article 9. And this is from the Decatur County Area Plan website. So under Article 9, Section 925, permanent special exceptions in A1 and A2 districts. It states the following are permitted as permanent special exceptions in the A1 and A2 districts when authorized by the Decatur County Board of Zoning Appeals. Number 7 states recreational developments. Then if you go to Article 2, which is the definitions, recreational use is stated as a private or public use of a building, structure, or property which involves either an active or passive activity conducted indoors or out for the purpose of pleasure, leisure, or fellowship. An event space qualifies under these articles, on top of already qualifying as agritourism. Then there's in your packet, the map. I just wanted to point out that the map where our property is located, we are about 1.5 miles from New Point. And in that stretch of land, there are 8 businesses located along 850. So for them to argue that this is a residential area is not true. One of his, which is a 100-acre golf course, whose backside is basically 500 feet from our property line. So I just wanted to point out that it's not just a residential area. There are plenty of businesses along that route. Also, page 56 of the comprehensive plan states, the county should focus on attracting young families to the area to offset the generational shift. The reason being, as many people marry, have children, and acquire job experience, they may choose to relocate to a smaller town or rural county due to quality of life and small town value reasons. This is a great opportunity for our venue to bring couples from out of town to experience their wedding in Decatur County. It will give our town exposure to couples just starting out and have them experience firsthand the quality of life in our rural town. So the neighbors have a petition opposing us. The majority of the names on the list are not neighboring property owners. There are even names of people who do not even live on the same road. The current petition states that all adjoining property owners have supported their document. This is a false statement. I know for a fact that 2 of the adjoining property owners have yet to sign any of their petitions. My in-laws are one of them. The issue with petitions is that they are subjective, one-sided, easily influenced by personal feelings and opinions. We have no idea what is being told to these people to get them to sign the petition. The only known fact in this matter is that we want to build an event center. Everything else is an assumption. They are focusing on the worst case scenarios, and trust me, after all of my research, I would not be doing my job if I have not as well. That's why we have made safety a top priority. So for our neighbors to call us disrespectful is hurtful because we have had our neighbors in mind every step of this way. So for one, we are putting in a separate driveway. Previous meetings we've had, we had shared a driveway with the Kinkers. So there were some issues about people leaving the driveway as people were trying to come in. So we have accommodated this situation by just totally putting in, we want to put a separate driveway in. 2, we have also decided to do the special exception instead of rezoning for the business, which was another thing that they were upset about. Nothing about our business plan has changed since the first meeting in September. So that's, okay. So instead of focusing on every negative thing that could happen, I would like to focus on the positive that our venue will bring. Revenue for Decatur County, uniting a couple in marriage, bringing friends and family together to celebrate a new baby, birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, reunions, and a place where our local schools can host their proms. And I'd like to end by reading 2 letters of support from 2 people who know a thing or two about starting a business in Decatur County. They have seen all my research, my ideas, and my business plans. The first is from Brian Robbins, the director of the Economic Development Corporation of Greensburg, Decatur County. And Taylor's going to read that.
Members of the Decatur County Planning Office. The Economic Development Corporation of Greensburg/Decatur County, the EDC, strives to encourage and assist local entrepreneurs whenever possible. As such, business people represent the future of what our community can be. We don't do this blindly, however, as not all dreamers make great owners/managers, and not all business plans ensure success. We rely greatly on a combination of internal conversations and review, as well as strong partnership with other entities such as Greensburg and Decatur County Chamber of Commerce and the vital Indiana Small Business Development Center, the ISBDC. With this in mind, I would like to express our support for the Into the Woods event space devised by the Bowman family. Our organization completed a study back in 2015, which identified numerous opportunities in the event sector. And since that time, many of the large to medium regional spaces have closed, not due to business, or limited their schedules, adding to the marketability of additional venues. The Bowmans have worked with the ISBDC to carefully develop and refine their business plan, assessing the need for the startup stages as well as what would be required for the sustainment and growth of the company. An essential aspect to do this business plan, one that will set this venue apart from others and represents its greatest strength, is the location and the environment it will provide to its patrons. The combination of a secluded wooded area within a rural country setting allows for them not only to market themselves as a unique destination, but also capitalize on the growing popularity of agritourism as their opportunities expand. Understandably, great care needs to be taken in the design and layout of such space, so it may preserve and flow with surrounding environment that makes it special. The Bowmans understand this and have been and remain accommodating. The EDC stands ready to support this project in the same capacity as any of our community businesses, as we were all once budding entrepreneurs in some fashion. There is still much work to be done, but the Bowmans' effort to take the necessary steps toward an effective business launch has been unmistakable. We feel with this continued strategic progress, the Into the Woods Event Center stands to be another successful attraction in our community.
And the second letter I have is from Dawn Lowe. She's the executive director at the Greensburg Decatur County Chamber of Commerce. To whom it may concern, my name is Dawn Lowe, and I'm the executive director for the Greensburg Decatur County Chamber of Commerce. Our job at the chamber is to support those businesses in and around Decatur County by providing advocacy, leadership, and resources for our members. While the Into the Woods Event Center is not yet a member, we have had several conversations with Mrs. Wendy Bowman and are excited for her and her family to provide a destination venue right here in Decatur County. We know that providing a tranquil escape in the woods, our county will reap greater rewards than just being a host site for an event. Our hotels will see an increase in traffic throughout the year. Local catering businesses will pick up, rental businesses will be utilized more, and our restaurants will see an increase in business. We are blessed to have great tenants of land who have good sound vision for sharing the beauty of Decatur County with others. I have seen Wendy's research, her business plan, financial package, and visions for Into the Woods event space, and I will say I'm quite impressed. She has done more preparation than most businesses that start up here in Decatur County. So I believe with that firm foundation she has set in partnership with the Indiana Small Business Development Center and other local organizations, she and her family will make Decatur County proud. I would like to extend my support of Ms. Wendy Bowman and the Into the Woods event space and look forward to them being a GDC chamber member in the near future.
Thank you, Wendy. Members.
I appreciate the work that you have done. When I pulled the packet out at home, I just, what? I thought I had 15 or 16 things to go through. I can't believe the work that you have put into this, and everything that you have said I have weighed on, we have a new event center in Westport now, and it's very nice. We have no problem with it whatsoever there. And some of the problems are unfounded, some problems are just being afraid. But I understand with everything that you have around you, I understand why you want to do this. And I do appreciate all the research that you have done.
No. Questions? No. We're ready to begin questions. I have a letter that was submitted today that I will read to board members regarding request to table the approval of property for an event center on County Road 850 East. We are opposed to a variance or the rezoning of property or any further actions which would permit an event center to be built on the petitioner's property located on County Road 850 East in Decatur County, Indiana. We are formally requesting that the decision to grant this variance be tabled. Our reasons for this request to table the decision are listed below. Number one, the petitioners have property rights, but so do the property owners adjacent, adjoining, and surrounding the area. Number two, the petitioners have completely changed the request for rezoning. This is a big change and we need time to investigate our rights. The adjacent and adjoining neighbors only received notice of this change last week. We need time for due process to study, understand, and evaluate the new plan. We need to know our rights as property owners who will be impacted. Number three, we need time to discuss our options with our attorney to determine what our rights are as property owners. Number four, we need time to continue conversations with Decatur County Soil Management concerning soil erosion and water runoff onto our property. Number five, we need time to continue conversations with IDEM concerning soil erosion and water runoff on properties. Number six, we need time to further investigate what truly qualifies as agribusiness or agritourism. An event center that hosts social events such as weddings, galas, proms, and other social events are not agribusiness nor agritourism. We need time, number seven, we need time to investigate and request that a traffic study of the number of vehicles and the speed of vehicles be conducted. We would like to request that the study focus on two areas: A, intersection of Base Road and County Road 850 East, and B, vehicles going north and south at the intersection of County Road 300 North and 850 East. The board members need sufficient time to review, understand, and evaluate the documents we just presented to them. Note that these documents are supported and signed by all adjacent adjoining property owners as well as other concerned property owners in the area. At least 7 of these individuals are adjacent or adjoining property owners and they are out of town this week. They do not have an opportunity to sign this request to table the decision. In summary, at the end of the day, no matter what variance, zoning, or other actions that are taken, which would allow this event center to operate as a business in the middle of a residential area, residential cluster as defined and documented in the Decatur County Comprehensive Plan, is in direct conflict with the comprehensive plan. And I have a list of signatures here with it as well. Do we have any other remonstrance from the public? Any comments from the crowd? If you do, please step up here and state your name and tell us what you need.
I do have, hello, my name is Nancy Walthy. My husband G and I are adjoining property owners to Morris and Wendy. We would love to have them as neighbors, but not in this way. I do have a handout for the board members.
This is the pond.
I am giving each of you a copy, page 1 of our initial petition, reasons for opposing an event center wedding venue in our residential cluster. The following pages, page 2 to 9, are the second set of signed documents showing direct violations to the comprehensive plan for Decatur County if this venue is allowed in our residential cluster. We took these actions to fight a rezoning to B2. Today, we filed a third signed document showing all adjoining and adjacent homeowners opposition requesting any decision to be tabled and our legitimate reasons why we do not want a business here. Your decision affects 30-plus adjoining and adjacent family members who chose to live in, prosper in Decatur County. We do have additional adjoining property owners who would like to voice their concerns also. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Andy Kinker. I'm the fifth generation of Kinkers live on the family farm back in Lane. My family has chosen to live back here for a reason. We're secluded. My parents' house is, if you take the driveway, a half mile off the road. My grandparents were even further back than that. My parents are 80 years old. My mom has MS. Her chair, where she can't get in and out of bed. She's in a chair, a reclining chair, and her bed, where she sits, faces us. I just want some, I just want, people to realize that we live back here. We have my parents and my family have chose to live back privately. The other thing is, I'm heavily involved with agriculture. I've been in agriculture ever since I got out of college. And I've seen other agritourism. We need to have, if there agritourism, there needs to be a plan put together of what defines agritourism in this county. Because you see like the tree farms, Harper Valley, they bring people in from the outside and teach them stuff. You say, well, the tree farm may not do that, but people learn what trees are, what kind of trees they're buying. We have no plan in place how this is going to support agriculture. We just know it's being an event center. So my question is, what are as people in agriculture, what are we going to see from this to help promote agriculture in Decatur County? That's all I have.
Thank you, Andy.
Hello, my name's Bobby Kors. I actually own the property directly across 850 East from the property in question. I've got some points here that I've written down that I'd like to read off for you. It was easier to write down all my thoughts than to kind of go off memory. So I just want to give a background of my own family situation and explain why we, as potentially new as new homeowners in the area and as a young family starting out, are opposed to this special exception. My wife and I started our family 6 years ago, and it's always been a dream of ours to build a home in the country that we could raise our family on in a rural setting. We happened to find that piece of property, parcel of land directly across from Bowman's, which fit our expectations perfectly for building our forever home. When looking at Beacon Schneider, initially we noticed that there was parcels across the road from us, 4 parcels that were zoned for residential that were surrounding a cul-de-sac, which was of initial concern. But after speaking with some of our neighbors, they said that the McCamans had owned that and had intended to sell that off as home build sites, but had since sold to a local farmer who told us that they would never sell or commercialize it. So that resolved that concern of ours. You can probably understand how surprised we were that as we got halfway through our build, which is currently right now, you can kind of see the drive going back there on the map, that we were surprised that this kind of came out of nowhere and really caught us by surprise. I don't know whether Enochsburg's recent changing of its policy to only allow rental of its facility to parishioners has anything to do with the timing of this. But I can only imagine that the very reasons that they were limiting their use of their venue, being traffic, noise, pollution, litter, impaired drivers, etc. I imagine that would be part of the reason why they're limiting the rental of their property. Those would be things that we as neighbors of this new venue would have to deal with. I don't want to be mistaken, and I do want to say that I do believe in small businesses and folks having their opportunity to do what they want to do, and people, following their dreams and pursuing their own passions. I support that, whether that be building a wedding venue and pursuing your own small business venue, or building your forever home, as we intend to do to raise our family. As with anything, there's a time and place for everything, and I believe that the community consensus is important in determining outcomes in these scenarios. It's my understanding that the board and other boards often refer to the comprehensive plan that our community spent so much time to put together when making these important decisions, such as the matter at hand. On the page 20 of the comprehensive plan, it reads, quote, Decatur County has a rural landscape. People desire to live in this rural landscape. It's imperative to maintain the future population and employment base in the county. The county supports residential, commercial, service, and industrial growth, and will target it around existing developmental clusters in the county and around existing cities, towns, and burgs. I myself was raised in Decatur County and always wanted to live in Decatur County in the aforementioned rural landscape and give back to the community from which I was raised. I currently work a job with remote working options, which gives me and my family the unique opportunity to live anywhere we want to in the continental US. We chose to live in Decatur County for the reasons stated earlier, and to give back to the same community from which I was raised. Additionally, we know that the residential cluster on 850 East, which we chose to live within, would provide that experience that we had been looking for our family. It is a residential cluster with 12 homes in just a half-mile radius. If my wife and I knew that there was going to be a wedding venue coming up right across the road, we would have to seriously reconsider the purchase of the property that we did. Aside from all the other conflicts between the comprehensive plan, which were provided to you, and the proposed wedding venue land use, I understand that this is a special exemption, which means that it does not follow the standard process in the sense that the land can be used in conflict with its current zoning spec, but only in accordance with the details of that special exception. This is my first experience with the Board of Zoning Appeals, but I would imagine that special exceptions would take special considerations and would have to be scrutinized to a higher degree than normal and require a more careful examination of all factors. In my line of work, when someone has a need for a special exception to the rules that were thoughtfully put in place, reviews are performed, and all individuals with concerns come together and come to a consensus with all concerns being adequately addressed and resolved. In this matter, many concerns have been addressed, but many are still not satisfied or resolved in the opinions of the neighboring homeowners. I'm not aware of any member of this residential community cluster of homeowners that advocates for this special exception to be put into place. And as far as I'm aware, there's no community-wide consensus for this residential cluster on wanting the exception approved. As mentioned earlier, I'm not at all opposed to the Bowmans following their dreams, as with anyone in our community, and I do wish them success in all their ventures. I just don't see the proposed location being one in which everyone involved would be happy with the outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Chris Odell, and I'm an adjoining property owner to the south. A couple of our concerns that have kind of been talked about the last couple meetings. So I just want to touch on a few of those. First one is in regards to the impaired drivers. The Bowmans mentioning that they would have security guards or off-duty police officers working at each event and stopping people from leaving. I think that's a nice gesture and a great hope to have, but I think the reality is that you're not going to have many security guards at an event, at a wedding, going up to guests saying, I think you're over the legal limit, you need to stop drinking, or going up to bride or groom or wedding party and saying the same thing to them. I just don't see that being reality. And when the event lets out, how are one or two security officers gonna be monitoring a couple hundred people? Logistically, like that's not gonna happen. There's gonna be impaired drivers leaving this facility, and putting, the community members, neighbors at risk. Another along that lines is the increased traffic concern. In the October meeting, it was mentioned that they may only be booking 40 Saturdays for weddings. But in the September meeting, it was mentioned that they would consider any kind of banquet or conference event during the week. So this is definitely going to be increasing the number of events per year, and not just 40. So ultimately being a source of revenue for them, any opportunity that they're going to have to book it, I would imagine that they would. So I don't see the number of events getting limited to help with traffic concerns. Another point regarding just general safety surrounding the homeowners and the risk of property damage. There's nothing that I've heard yet that could be put in place to prevent their guests from wandering off of their property onto surrounding properties, to being a threat to homeowners and their families or their property. And I wanted to bring up the risk that would be for their guests on their property as well during hunting seasons. There are numerous hunters around that property that's surrounded. And every hunter, you hope that understands hunting safety, and you're not going to shoot anything if there's something behind your target, right? But accidents happen, and you put 250 people in an event centered around, and people are milling around, an accident could happen. Especially with the approval of a lot more high-powered rifles, it might not be just somebody hunting in the woods adjacent. It could be a little further behind. Accidents could happen, and I'd hate to see that. And then lastly, like a lot of them have said, this seems to be a more commercial, right, wedding venue. It's not an agricultural business or related industry. And to me, it's more location. This request should be more in a business commercial zone versus agricultural. Thanks.
Chris? Any more comments?
I'm sorry, Beth Brandenburg. I'm in favor of this venue. I think it's much needed in this community. I personally am not living in the surrounding area. I live at Lake Santee, so I go up and down that road quite a bit. I don't see how that's any different than church letting out and as far as security guards not making sure people aren't being overserved, that's their job. If they want to come back the next week, absolutely, they're going to make sure that everybody's leaving there safe. Because like Wendy said, their butts are on the line. It will all come back down on them. And then as far as the hunting goes, I could be sitting out in my yard, and if somebody chooses to shoot a high-powered rifle in my direction, it's going to take me out no matter where I am. So I just don't see. That's me.
Greg Kinker, I'm one of the joining property owners down the Kinker driveway. Just a couple of other things that I want to point out, that like the parking lot, and that when they talk about it being secluded back in the woods, and that's the green, what I understand is the green square, and all the lights will be pointing right directly toward, and when they're leaving, coming in, all the lights are going to be pointing towards our houses. And So it wouldn't be as secluded as end up, they say, but then also end up, I was one of them that was really concerned about the traffic studies and stuff like that. And that's where end up, when you have an increase in traffic, even if there's more accidents, you have to look into how the county end up officers having to respond more out there. Plus, and end up, it is a rural setting, as we say, end up in our rural fire department, even if there is more, you're relying on them to actually come out and for first responders to end up have this happen, because you're having people from what they want, like outside people coming in that don't understand that that road is dangerous, that intersections are dangerous, and definitely need more time to look at how that will be impacted by an increase in traffic, especially in the evenings when it is dark. Thank you.
Greg?
I'm David Bowman, Marshall's dad. The issue is, okay, it's his property. That property was for sale. All you said here, and you said 100% of the people signed that petition against it. We did not. Okay, the other part is they're talking about their traffic. There's 9 houses been built between the interstate and this piece of property, and they all drive on it. And they all have cars and they all have kids. So the traffic is not an issue. There's the issue. They drive a lot. Thank you.
I'm Kevin Walby. I wasn't gonna talk today, but I am, the only thing I was concerned about was 2 years ago, we just built a new business, and I was gonna do it at our house, which is down the road on 850. And I never did go in front of the board because I talked to everybody here at the courthouse about commercial property going in front of our house. Most of my neighbors were fine with it because I talked to them, and I was gonna go to the board and come up here. But when I came and talked to individuals, they all told me there's no way that's gonna get passed. This is all zoned for residential housing from here to Lake Santee. So I didn't ever go in front of the board. And to me, we ended up having to, we couldn't find ground. This was 2 years ago or so. As you know, nothing comes up for sale very often. If it does, it's you gotta know them to be able to get it. We finally found ground and we built New Point 2 years later, and it costs, there's a lot more cost involved in that. So that's my concern that, here, I tried to do it. I just was told by everybody in the courthouse, hey, this is residential. You're not gonna be able to build anything commercial out here. And then this, all the headache I went through that and never could get it processed and out. If this goes in, I was told that all the other businesses, because I said the same thing you guys did, look at all these commercial businesses up and down 850. They're all over. And all I was told, all those businesses have been around for X amount of years. The plan has changed or whatever, those people are grandfathered into it. You have to go through all the new stuff, which is not grandfathered in, and this is how it is. That's what I was told. So now I don't know about those businesses, how old they are, how long they've been around and which ones they are. I just know that's what I was told, when I was wanting to put our business close to home for convenience and not having to spend the money to go buy ground in town. Because everybody said commercial spot that they want is around the exits and by, New Point in town in between 74 and 46. And that's all I have to say, just keep it in consideration.
Thank you, Kevin. Wendy, if you want to come back up for
Yeah.
your rebuttal.
Yeah, just some of the couple of points they brought up. I talked to several people about the security and, one of the venues that I talked to, they do have security. And that is the job of that security officer, is to make sure they're not arresting people. They're just making sure they get a ride home safely. And that's our intention here. I mean, like my husband said at one of the previous meetings, we could have built our venue or wanted to build like right on the road. We've chosen the woods because it's secluded. It dips down in, it's hidden away from, the majority of the neighbors around there. As far as the parking lot is concerned, I mean, we would be willing to plant trees there's nothing that we're not willing to do to appease the neighbors. We've tried to keep them in mind every step of the way. As far as like trash along the roadside, it's a high-end venue, so why would we leave trash? I don't care if it's not ours or not. I'm gonna be out there every night picking it up, because if I have a tour coming in the next day, I don't want them to see, I want them to see that it's a high-end venue. And then as far as one of the roads that they're questioning about having a survey done on, the 300, it's on the other side of St. Morris. So I don't understand why we need a road survey on that road that isn't even near, it's 3.7 miles away from our property. The 40 weddings a year, that's what we're trying to market as. But if someone wants to have a training session, a company or something, that's gonna be a very small group of people. It's not gonna be a large size wedding of people coming to do, a baby shower or something like that. And not everybody leaves the wedding venue at the same time. People leave throughout the night. So I don't think the traffic will be as big of a nuisance as they think. No one complains about the traffic leaving Enixburg from a church service or a wedding, or North Branch when a tournament gets out. And trust me, I'm sure those people have been drinking all day playing golf. No one seems concerned about that issue. What we're trying to put in place is things to prevent that. So we have the security in place. We're gonna be at every event to make sure that things are going right. Someone brought up the point of neighboring, the neighboring homeowners and the safety of people. We're gonna have cameras in use. If you see the property down in the woods there's a big embankment on the south side. I don't see people wandering off and climbing an embankment to get over to a neighbor's house. I mean, we'll have cameras inside and out. I work at North Decatur. I have a whole TV screen next to me that is like 20 plus cameras from the school that I sit there and I monitor to make sure things are not going, safety issue. So that's what we want to instill in our business as well, is that we'll have people monitoring cameras. If something's going on outside, we're gonna radio to someone to go take care of the situation. We know that this is a big liability on our shoulders and we're not taking it lightly. So I just want to reassure the neighbors that if there's any issues that we're not covering, I mean, I feel like I've repeated myself several times and they keep bringing up issues that I haven't addressed when I've already said it. We're not, I don't know, it's a dream that we've had, and like I said, it's gonna be tucked into the woods, which I think is the draw of it, is to be into the woods. People are gonna come from a metro area to get married somewhere in town. They want that rural setting. We want the high-end look, because most modern brides right now, they wanna waltz in, everything ready to go. They're busy women, they don't wanna be decorating, a hall that looks like a gym. They want things turnkey, ready to go, and that's what we wanna offer here in Decatur County. And I think it'll be a big draw to get people from out of town to come to our venue.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, board. Thoughts?
I don't know, I'm concerned of what kind of weddings you people are seeing.
I wanted to talk.
I'd say a man and a woman, but.
I wanted to talk, but I never got to.
Yeah, come on up.
Okay, well, I don't have anything planned or anything. My name is Mary Trankamp. I live on East Space Road, which would be adjoining 850. And then our property would be at an angle from their property. And what I think Wendy and Morris have done, I think it's great work. I think it's an excellent, plan that they put together. But my first concern is on Base Road where we live, we have Enicksburg who has the weddings and they travel. Probably in the last 15 years, our mailbox has been hit at least 10 to 12 times. We've had 2 people come back and actually said, I hit your mailbox, we will replace it. Our neighbors the same. Sometimes they would be hit together, sometimes not. We have people run into the fence that are just down from our house. So poles have been clipped. There are accidents. I mean, that it's a given and we know it. Will that happen? I think it's impossible. And I do think the security is great, that plan. I think it's impossible because people are leaving at different times. Some of these were earlier in the day, some were later. Some were when they were decorating and they had a little fun decorating and came back. So accidents are going to happen. That is just a given, because it happens. My concern, I think it's a great place. I think it's a great plan. I don't think the placement is right for only because it is already an established residential area. You've got houses all along, you have houses on the other side. We live in the valley area, so the music will carry to our property. We won't probably have anybody drunk heading our way, but we will have sound and noise, and that'll be every weekend. Well, depending how that works. But I guess I'm really here to see if the board is going to say, okay, we can have a resident or establish a public venue in a residential cluster. And if that does happen, it's going to make me question, do I want to continue to live in Decatur County, or would it be better when I get older to move into Batesville area or any county around that would not allow a public venue to sit in the middle of a residential area? And that's really my concern. It's already established. Yes, there's a golf course, but people will pay high money to live on the backside or around a golf course because it's pretty scenery. The grass is always mowed, trees. So that's my only concern. And again, the accidents. That is a bad intersection, the Base Road and 150. It's hard to get out of. In the day, when everybody's sober, hopefully, it's hard to get out of. But I do think their plan is great. I do think it would work. I just think it needs to be in a different location, not in a commercial or not in a residential area that has already been established.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, board. So the first thing you need to decide on is, do you want to table this or not?
Well, what else can be said against it? I mean, I think it's made pretty clear that they did an awesome job stating for the plan. They have been very thorough with their concerns, so I don't know that tabling, what's it gonna add except maybe.
The thing that I got most from these papers here, there's 7 keepers on there, 7 have signed up. There's 4 in another family, so we're getting not really the whole context of every one. We're just getting who they chose to write down there. I know that, and for her question, for when I saw the video of where you're gonna put this, it's not residential. It's way back there in a big old valley, and it was beautiful. And like she said, I don't know what kind of weddings you all go to, but I have been to many, many weddings in my life and, you know, you might find one or two where the people get a little unruly, but for the most part, at 10 o'clock at night, you don't see a whole lot there. You're gonna always have, like you say about the shooting and the hunting, things like that can happen anytime. You don't have to have a wedding venue, or you don't even have to be sitting in your yard. You can have something like that to happen anytime. Seriously, folks, I think if we'd all just be neighbors, be good neighbors, if they're trying to be good neighbors, and you probably are too, because you know what you do and don't want. But as far as stopping them from having this, you'd have to stop everything in the county from doing this, and I know for a fact that they're not stopped, they keep on going. I don't know, I just don't think we.
I think,
Has you
Joyce, I
been
think
been
one
here too
thing
much?
we heard too from the lady here that I would point out is, I wouldn't want, if I lived in a rural area, I'm not blessed enough to do that. I don't want a lot of loud noise either, and the U-Haul, but would you not be able to control that?
Yeah, the music would be strictly contained to inside the reception hall. It's not like.
I know noise, it's gonna carry.
Right,
I
but
doubt it's
then
gonna carry,
11
but you as a
o'clock is-
responsible owner
Yeah,
And how
would
far
have
are
to
you
be-
apart?
Mrs. Tree Camp,
Uh-huh.
3/8 of a mile, half mile.
But the sound does carry.
but shutdown will be 11 PM. That will be the time then that
Right.
receptions will be told that they are to be done and off the property. So at 11 PM, music will be shut off, so.
That's a good point, yeah, that's a good.
No, I think mostly we're gonna be looking for DJs that are gonna be inside the building. I mean, unless somebody really would want a band outside, they're gonna keep the noise down, I would not.
And this is
I don't
an
think we would
insulated
say-
building.
Huh?
So it's an insulated, you keep saying
Yeah,
high
yeah,
end.
it's,
So
yeah,
if you had music going, hopefully your construction's gonna,
right, and then that's part of the reason why I put it back in the trees, or into the woods. I want to use the natural habitat to block out some of the light, block out some of the sound, give it a secluded area. Keep the areas outside maintained as far as for wooded undergrowth. If they want to get over the kinkers, they're gonna crawl through briars to get through some of them. I mean, I tried very hard to keep everything as contained as I can and think about some people. And if they would have come and talked to us a little bit, maybe we could have worked some of this out beforehand. And I'm sorry to the Coors, I've never met you before in my life. Okay, this is not something we were planning on doing 3 years ago.
And then we had we had no address to get a hold of you because you hadn't started building yet. So we were like, I don't even know how, I searched up on Facebook. I tried everything. I was like, I don't know who these people are.
And
So, yeah.
it's not, I tried very hard to try to keep this as neighbor friendly as I can, and maybe they don't agree with me, and that's their right, they don't have to agree with me. But I'm not out there to try to make enemies, I really ain't. To me, the woods is a complete waste of space for what I do, I farm, I work in a factory, I don't wanna put it in farm ground. I don't wanna take good farm ground out of production to put a building in a parking lot. I'm trying to find basically worthless ground that I can make productive and do something with.
and I think you're making enough of an investment that if whoever the neighbor was that had concern about lights, because that would bother me.
Right.
You know, I don't want a bunch of cars coming out with their lights on, that you made the comment, you would go to the expense of putting in
Yeah,
additional whatever.
we talked about once we get the parking lot defined, putting a row of spruce trees down through there at some point. It would not be good for my farm ground, but it would be good for them.
The thing that I noticed, the land that you're putting this on, because we did get the video of where it's going. You couldn't farm that land if you want to anyway.
It's pretty rough ground.
Yeah, and you're going to try to leave as many of the trees as you can.
Yes.
That too will stop a lot of the sites and all that stuff. Maybe these folks need to go back and look at this, look at the property.
So if we're thinking,
What about the rural area, the residential? That's, I mean, that's.
Is it actually,
hang on,
I would just like to point out to the board, and this is under section 925. And this is for permanent special exceptions in the A1, A2 class. In that district, it's all been talking about residential clusters, but there are several things that are permitted in those zoning classifications pursuant to our ordinance. And so if you go through section 925, there's a total of 13 categories. Agriculture-related businesses,
Gosh, you could have a racetrack.
airports, country clubs, campgrounds, golf courses, riding stables, group homes, residential rehabilitation facilities, daycare facilities, recreational developments, campgrounds, outdoor theaters, sports activities or facilities, bed and breakfast, small tourist facilities, privately detached guest houses, special employee living quarters, public utility structures, firearm ranges, game preserves, motocross courses, let's see. Gaming and hunting preserves, public all-terrain vehicle or motocross courses, motorcycle tracks, race tracks, and public or municipal water reservoirs. So I know the discussion's been all about this as a residential district, but there are, pursuant to the ordinance, there are other things that are permitted within this district that probably may be a little bit more unappealing to residential structures.
So, that's the thing I would like to ask is how the concerns of the residents in with this type of business in there, are they compatible? And as Missy just pointed out in 925, does that fit? Okay. Couple other things from my point of view. Across the road from my home, there's 299 cattle that live in a confinement facility that wasn't there when our house was built in 1915. The lights are on all night. When the wind's in the right direction, cows defecate, feeders defecate. You ship cattle at night in the dark, in the cool. So there's some mice coming by, different types of hours. That is direct agriculture, which is why I bring up the previous question. Do I like all that? No. But that's just part of it. I have no issue with that. At the same time, I travel South Central and Southern Indiana and North Central Indiana every day out on county roads. And I see stone quarry after stone quarry. And what that does to the neighborhood and what it does to the roads and what it's done to my windshield. I'm not responsible for broken windshields. I would like to have $100 for a windshield I've had broken. The rocks coming off people's trucks. I think the rock quarry's been there a long time. You can deduce the rest of my thoughts. But going back to the original point is, does this feel like a fit? I think the APC had looked at a few months ago where a gentleman wanted to put in a storage facility west of the truck stop there and change the zoning on that. They said, no. I bring these things up as laws.
You're not asking for a rezone, are we?
No,
No.
we're on board.
I guess the only question would be, would you rather see something nice like this or a motorcycle course?
So
Think about that.
you're looking at a special exception. That's what you need to understand.
And Brad, I don't really think it's an agribusiness. I think it's more likened to a country club.
Yeah.
I mean, the country club is when you define things in a category, we can't define everything possible,
And
but.
we struggled with several things that we try to categorize. And
Right.
and it's
But it's
just
very
not,
similar to what you would do at a country club minus the golf course, which the golf course is there, but it has, very similar components to the country club, which is one of the approved.
And it wouldn't be Dale as a country club would do. Country
Right, a
club
country
has
club
everything.
usually offers 7 days a week and, more like restaurant dining and things like that. So it's not to that level, but has similar qualities.
The other thing I'd add is, I got the pleasure, along with some other people in this room, to sit in the comprehensive plan discussion, which took about 3 hours every meeting for about 17 times. So I got to be involved in part of this discussion. There were some heated discussions in that, let me tell you.
so what we were looking at is if we're not gonna table, we need a motion.
I make a motion, we vote on, what's the number? 2022-13
For the special
for the
exception.
special exception.
I'll second the motion.
Take your time.
And I'll read the votes. Gary Fisher, yes. Rick Cohen, yes. Brad Shooty, yes. Janie Livingston, yes. Joyce Brindley, yes.
Okay, Bowman, your petition passes. Thank you. And that is the last item on our agenda. We need a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
You said you lived next to Stone. No. Okay, we're done.
Go live in St. Paul. Drive kind of like go to St. Paul, it's like the fire.
Just by saying, just by saying.
That's fine, I need to know those two grades to recommend. That's what I heard. Doesn't matter, she's good. Oh, yeah, she's good. It's a lot easier for me.
You emailed me everything you said. Yes. Good job.
Oh, you don't know Mary.
Yeah, I mean, I have had a that's like
I closed that.
Yeah.
Well, okay. If something does go wrong. they move out. That's why somebody puts it here, 60 doesn't know. Yes. Yes, yes, it was. Then that's all I heard about. So that's all you got. This will be easy. Sorry, get me late. Okay. Two readings of the rules of procedure. I mean, they're fine. So anything that you want. Well, it is, but I don't know if anybody would want to understand something now. I'm missing a little wonder, like, if she had any.
Put it together and, all kinds of other counties, trying to put it together, trying to narrow it down.
I like
Like
it.
50 pages.
I like
I
it.
still think it's a little wordy, but I
I think it's fine. Well, you can wear yourself out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine. Rather than me.
no, because it's not.
Okay. Just rules of procedure. So we just need to vote on that.
And I advertise.
Yes. No.
As a resolution, not an ordinance. Yeah, discuss it.
That's it here. Like the landfill all over again.
Oh, that wasn't near as painful as the landfill.
No, it wasn't, not at all. That was a lot bigger room.
We needed 9 more meetings for that.
Joyce did make that point. She's like, we don't need to take this, return into Oregon.
Yeah, yeah.
Which as long as they were fine with that, I was, I didn't want to, but it's a distraction.
No, everybody has to do everything there is.
Yeah, Janie was fired up tonight. Glad to see that. No, Gary was.
Gary, okay.
That's where you're gonna get the. You know, there's nothing.
Where you guys going?
I'm not familiar with Greenwood City.
I was texting Junior had more.
Somebody there in the corner, Emmett Hayes owns. He's looking at 3 bins right there by Bowman.
Yeah.
He's got an empty bin there.
Your zoning's good.
So formerly shared with him.
Wow.
When you're,
It shouldn't all be your
when
burden.
you're rich and you're market thinking, you got money, you got somebody too, they want to come up and help out, so. I'd have Jeff and, yeah, he is. He put that barn up.
That little barn?
That's Morton Building.
Yeah.
He's got a 4440 and.
I mean, the barn cracks me up. Feel like the bins, I can't even 3 bins.
It's still right now.
That's kind of
Going
funny.
parts increase them,
You ready?
push more water.
Call to order the November 2nd, 2022 Decatur County Area Plan Commission meeting. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Decatur County requests participants in this meeting to complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. First item on the agenda, approval of the October 5th, 2022 minutes. Everyone should have received those in their packets. Anybody got any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those minutes are approved. First item on the agenda, APC petition 2022-23. Bruce and Helen Hybert requesting to rezone approximately 2.99 acres out of 5.075 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification for construction of a single-family detached dwelling. Request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section number 920/7 and 915. Property is owned by the petitioners and is located at 10097 South County Road 60 Southwest, Westport in Sand Creek Township. You guys want to step up and tell us about your project?
Bruce Tebert, my wife and I would like to build a second home on the 10097 South County Road 60 Southwest. We have family and friends who would like to get out into the rural area. We searched within an hour and a half area where we're at in Indianapolis, and we're getting older. We have a family farm up in Noble County, and that's hard for us to get to. So we wanted to enjoy the benefits a little bit closer to home. And the family farm in Noble Township is owned by 3 different members of my wife's family. And we would like to have a place of our own for our family to enjoy the outdoors and education for our grandkids.
Board members, do you have any questions? Looks like everything's in order. And it looks like a good spot for a house.
Beautiful stuff.
Nobody has any questions, we'll look for a motion to approve the petition.
I make a motion to approve.
You got a second?
I'll second the motion.
Who's the second?
I'll read the votes. Sheila Kirkhoff, yes. Todd Mauer, yes. Tom Cherry, yes. Brad Shudy, yes. Jay Shetler, yes. Brian Knelly, yes. Paul Stone, yes.
Bruce, your petition passes.
Well, thank you.
Just keep in touch with the office as you start your construction process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry I had to wait for all that.
No problem. No problem.
Next item on our agenda, the rules of procedure. Everyone should have received these in your packet. And as Chris explained, this is not an ordinance. So we do not need 2 readings on this. The only thing would be if anybody had any additions, corrections, changes that they thought needed made.
And what I would like to point out is by doing it this way, it kind of is a working document. So over time, if we see something isn't quite the way we want it or things just change, we can modify them as we go. It's not an ordinance review.
And this will be publicly available, correct?
Correct,
Absolutely.
Because then I've got something to point at when I tell somebody that they can't talk out of turn.
Right. A lot of counties do, they've kind of come into putting rules of procedure in place. They're not part of the official ordinance, because that takes just a lot more effort to make changes. But these, like the one thing in here, it says we send notices by first class mail, not certified mail. Well, we kind of found people don't sign for certified mail. It's a hassle. They're not at home when it comes, or they get home after the post office closes, and you're gonna get people looking at what's inside the envelope more if it's just left versus doing the certified mail. Plus there's the extra cost of the certified mail. And it's not necessary to do that, but that's just one example. But anything, like you said, if there's things that we see that aren't working with the meeting or we wanna change, then we just go in and amend them.
And these seem to be pretty standard procedures that are outlined in that document.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at several as models, and kind of put together what we, I wanted it easy to understand, not too complicated, because then it's not gonna be followed anyway, because nobody's gonna read it, if it's 100 pages long. Just, try to put in there what we need and make it easy, to utilize.
So is this the first documented rules and procedures?
Yes, we have not had rules. in
Okay,
that.
so I didn't know if this over.
It's something that we've talked about, and Krista and I talked about a while back. I mean, there's always kind of just been this standard that we tried to hold to, but it had never been
Well,
really
it's
spelled
good,
out.
because then you can,
Right,
people wanna
right.
talk to you outside of here, and you gotta say,
Well, even in the conduct of the meeting, we have that
Correct.
callback,
correct.
so. Any more questions on it? Do we just need a motion for that?
Yes.
I need a motion to approve those rules of procedure. We'll just vote on it.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to adopt the rules of procedure.
Second,
I'll second it.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. And that is all we have on the agenda. And we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yep.
That'd be me. It's my contribution for tonight.
Thanks, Paul. Really pulling some weight.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, sorry.